It says write an expression to show the perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter is the total distance out around the outside of a shape. So if I know that this side length is represented by x minus 2, what would this side length be represented by also? Just 2?
No, x minus 2.
X minus 2, so I want you to copy that down. This side length is x minus 2. If this side length is represented by 3x plus 4, what is this side length represented by?
3 times plus 4.
3x plus 4, right? So to find the perimeter, how would I express that? How would I show how to calculate the perimeter? Adding what? All the sides. So I'm going to take 3x plus 4, this side, plus this side, x minus 2, plus this side, 3x plus 4, plus this side, x minus 2. Now it says simplify. What does simplify mean? Simplify means to make it shorter. I heard someone say that. And how do you do that? Good job. So you're collect like terms. Remember, you can only add together any terms that have an x. So this is a 1x, this is a 3x, this is another 1x. And then we can add together the terms that are just the numbers by itself that don't have any variable with it. These are called the constant terms. So we're going to write it here. We're going to simplify it. I have 3x plus the 1x plus this 3x plus this 1x. And you can even look at your rectangle. 3x, 1x, 3x, 1x, right? And then what else am I going to add together? What is this one? A plus 4. What else? A negative 2, or a plus 4 again, and a negative 2. That's putting all the terms together, but now we have to simplify it, make it shorter. What is the total of all these x's together? Raise your hand, please. All together I have 8 x's. And then make sure you're looking at the signs. 4 take away 2. 2 plus 4. 6 take away 2. Positive or negative 4? Positive 4. That's your answer. What is the perimeter if the x is equal to 5? Well, what was our perimeter? It was, what was it, 8x plus 4. That was the simplified expression of the perimeter. Now, they tell us if that x is equal to 5. So what do I do with that information? Plug it in, right? Replace the x with the number they tell you it's equal to. So now, instead of writing 8x, I'm replacing x with what number? So that means 8 times 5, correct? 8x means 8 times something, plus the 4. So 8 times 5 is 40 plus 4 is 44. So the actual perimeter is 44. Now here's this is another part to this question. If I changed it and I said the perimeter is 60 centimeters, now you have to go backwards and figure out what x would be. So let's write our equation again. The perimeter is equal to 8x plus 4. Now they're telling you that perimeter, P is 60. So where would I put the 60? Do I put it where the P is, or do I put it where the X is? I replace the P with 60. So 60 equals 8x plus 4. Does everyone understand that? Yeah. In order to isolate this X, what do we need to get rid of from the right side of the equation? Do I need to divide by 8 first, or do I need to get rid of the 4?
Get rid of the 4.
Okay, so do that. Get rid of the 4, right? How do I get rid of the 4? What's the opposite of plus 4? That gets rid of it, right? So what do I have to do on the left side? Take away 4. So I'm going to write it over here. I have 60 take away 4 is equal to 8x, right? I got rid of the 4. We're trying to get x by itself. What's 60 take away 4?
56.
So 56 equals 8x. But I want to know, what does x equal? So what's the last step? Yep.
56 divided by 8.
Divide by 8. That gets rid of that, and you're left with just x. So I have to divide by 8 on this side. What's 56 divided by 8? 7. So x is equal to 7. Okay, so what did the rectangle look like? What was the length of the rectangle? This side was 3x plus 4, right? And this side was x minus 2, right? The original question. Well, if the perimeter is 60, we know that x is equal to 7, right? We just calculated that. So what would be the actual dimensions? Let's say this is the width and this is the length. If x is 7, what's the actual width? How would I calculate it? 7 minus 2, which is 5 centimeters. Does that make sense? The width would actually be 5 centimeters, right? Right now, all I'm doing is replacing this. We calculated that x is equal to 7 when it has a perimeter of 60, right? So if x is 7, well, I'm going to replace this x with the number 7. So instead of writing x minus 2, I'm writing 7 minus 2 to actually figure out the dimensions. 5 centimeters. What would the length be? Instead of writing 3 times x, I'm going to write 3 times what? 3 times 7 plus 4. Does everyone understand that? I'm replacing x with the number. What's 3 times 7? 21 plus 4? 25 centimeters. So the actual length is 25 centimeters, and the actual width is 5 centimeters. Now, does that make sense? It said the perimeter was 60. What's 25 plus 25 plus 5 plus 5? Does that give us 60? 25 plus 25 is 50 plus 5? 55, 55 plus 5? Yes, that makes sense, right? That worked. What if I were to ask you now, what's the area then of the rectangle? How do you find area of a rectangle? Length times width. So what's the length? 25 times 5. What's the area? 125 centimeters squared. Okay, so he's working at a restaurant and he earns an hourly, underline this, hourly rate of pay and plus tips. Okay? So we're trying to figure out an equation to represent his earnings. So what would your equation start with? We're figuring out what his earnings are equal to. So he works, 1 week he works 30 hours. Okay, you know how many hours he works that week. And he gets $200 in tips. Do you know how much he makes per hour? No, we only know that he worked 30 hours, right? So let's say he made, I'm just going to make up a number, $10 per hour. And I told you he worked 30 hours. How would you figure out how much he made? You would do 10 times 30, right? I'm just making up a random number. If we know his hourly rate, then we can figure out how much he made if he worked 30 hours, right? But we don't know his hourly rate of pay. Doesn't tell us. That's what we're going to figure out after. Right? We don't know how much he makes per hour. So let's pick a variable to represent that. What do you want to call that? What letter? Let's call it H for hourly pay. If you know his hourly pay, you would multiply it by 30, right? Because he's working 30 hours. If he makes $10 an hour and he's working 30 hours, you would do 10 times 30. Does that make sense? But then he also makes money in tips. So you have to add that to his earnings, right? I'm getting X amount of dollars per hour, plus I got tips. How much did he get in tips? $200. Does that make sense? That equation makes sense? Okay. Now, it tells us, though, in that week, he earned this much money, $552.50. Can you plug that into the equation somewhere? Where would I plug in this number? Would I replace it for H or would I replace it for E? Okay, so let's replace E with 552.50, and then we have H times 30. You could also write that as 30H, right? Plus 200. We want to know what is his hourly rate of pay. You are isolating H. What's the first thing you want to get rid of on the right side of the equation? Do you want to get rid of the 30 or do you want to get rid of this 200? Get rid of the 200 first. Good. How do I get rid of the 200? If I have plus 200, I have to take away the 200. So what do I have to do on this side? Take away the 200. What's 552.50? Take away 200. What do you get? 352.50 equals H times 30. But I want to know just H. I just want to know his hourly pay. What's the last step to figure out what H is equal to? What do I have to do? Divide by what? Divide this by 30. That cancels out. Divide this side by 30. So when you do this on your calculator, 352.5 divided by 30, what do you get? We get 11.75. What did that mean in the question? What did that represent? His hourly rate of pay. That means he's getting, not $10 an hour, he's getting $11.75 per hour. Every hour he works, that's how much he makes, plus he's getting tips. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, so now we're going to figure out how much money would he earn? What is his pay? So what are his earnings equal to? If he worked 35 hours that week and he made $225 in tips, we have to figure out what are his earnings. If he's working 35 hours, well, how much does he get per hour? We just calculated it. So we're going to do 11.75 times 35, because he worked 35 hours, right? And then he got $225 in tips. So what do I have to do to include that? Plus 225. So now we're figuring out his earnings. What would his pay be? How much would he earn? We just figured this out. You couldn't answer this question if you didn't know this, right? We just figured out his hourly rate of pay. And now this time they told us how many hours he works. This is the number of hours. Okay, so if he's getting $11.75 per hour, multiply that by 35. That's how much he gets just for working 35 hours, plus he got $225 in tips. So what did he make all together? $636.25. I want you to actually calculate it step by step. Do this first, and then add the $225.